Welcome to Elite Business Live 2025. Goodness me, it's incredible to be here. I hope you've had a good day so far. Okay, so I want you to imagine you've started a business. How many here in the room have started their own business? Quite a few of you, right? Okay, so you'll remember that moment when you took the plunge and you decided to get started. Well, imagine you've done that, but you're actually entering a sector that you don't know anything about. You've got no experience whatsoever. You don't have any contacts. You don't really know who your clients are. You've got no prior experience in that sector. Who would do such a thing? I did. Crazy. It was my first rodeo, my first business, and you know what? What I had going for me was passion. Passion for the product and the business that I was about to start. And what I did was I was importing Italian food into the UK, and I was completely passionate about Italian food. And so it was with the power of the press, of the journalists, that I actually launched and scaled that business. Because without the press, I literally would have been dead in the water. This was pre-social media days, so I couldn't even use that. And it was an online e-retailer, and so getting people to come to a website, because they're not even walking past it on the street, how do you get people to come to a website? Back in the day, we're talking about the dot-com boom time, okay? So, pre-social media, how do you get them to come? And it was through press relations, getting the journalists to talk about us and really building trust with them that we had great products and building a loyal, audience, raving fans, because they got to know, like, and trust the products, yes, but also our business, our brand. Okay? So I'm Alison Shadrack, and I'm the founder of Adia PR. Now you'll wonder, how did I go from having a food business to a PR business? Well, purely for the fact that I really loved that element of my business, dealing with the press. And I saw the power of it to help me launch and scale my business. And I thought a number of small businesses were missing a trick because they didn't really, A, understand what PR could do for them, or B, really, understand how to do it. And so that's what I really wanted to do with Adia PR, is really help other small businesses to A, do it themselves, or B, work with us, because, my team and I, we've been there and we know how to work with them, how to get their products noticed. So that's a little bit about me, but today I want to share with you, how you build trust to scale your business, because ultimately, it's the trusted businesses that will do well in the world. So in the startup phase, you're looking to attract attention. We want to build trust along the way, of course. And then as we scale up, we're looking to create that hype. We're looking to create loyal, raving fans. Okay, so this is London, Liverpool Street. I come into Liverpool Street whenever I come into London. It's crazy busy, right? As in most stations. So imagine if you're in the middle of the crowd and you don't know who the other people are, they don't know who you are, but potentially in that mix, you've got potential clients, you've got potential investors, stockists, distributors, what your stakeholders relevant for your business. They're out there, but how do you identify them, and how do you get them to stop and pay attention to you and hear your stories, your message? You've got a product or a service that can probably help them or help somebody that they know. So how do you get their attention? This is the visibility challenge. Okay? The other extreme is you're there waving, you're trying to make some noise, you're sending your signals, but no one's listening. There's no one there. At least no one relevant for you and for your business. So I find that, the media is super helpful in helping to raise awareness, spread your message, share your stories, and I want to go through this with you today. So the three main pillars that we're trying to use to help us build trust. Don't know if you can see that very well. We've got visibility, obviously, raising awareness. People need to know who you are, so you need to be heard and seen. We want to build up your credibility, your reputation. Your reputation is everything. Good reputation or a bad reputation? Which way do you want to go? What are you going to do to help enhance your credibility, to build trust? Authenticity, that's a word that's bandied around a lot, so how authentic are you being in showing up in all aspects of your business, through your website, through your interactions here at the event. That's really key in being very aware of who you are and what you're doing. So how this all works together. So if you've got credibility, a good credibility, but you're not getting the visibility, then, as we say, you're the world's best kept secret. So those who know you, love you, trust you, but not enough, probably, people know who you are. So the more visibility you're getting, so once you start raising awareness of your business, that, as we call it, the power of association, the more aware people are of you. Again, if you're I'm going on the basis that you're doing good, positive things, then that will increase your credibility and your reputation. But of course, some people say that no news is, no bad news is, or how did we say it? No news is bad news. Sorry, get it that right. I, obviously disagree with that, because you can have certainly bad news that will really, could literally devastate your business and your reputation. So you want to be known, but you want to be trusted, not the opposite. And then if you've got authenticity, but you haven't got the visibility or the credibility, then you're going to have a limited impact. It will be limited to a small audience. Okay, so those are the three main pillars that I want you to be aware of as I take you through the different ways that you can raise awareness through the media. Okay, so traditional PR, yes, is media relations, but obviously today there are many other aspects to raising awareness of your business. So I'll take you through the press and media, different ways of approaching them in a moment. But of course, you may want to look at these other aspects. So one could be writing a book. If you're an expert, if you want to come across as an expert in your field, the go-to authority, then still today, writing a book can be a great way to raise awareness. Now, not necessarily about the sales of it, and making money from it. It may be more of a door opener, a marketing activity, because again, all of these things will help each other. So, if you're writing a book and you like speaking at events, the book can be a great door opener to, for event organizers to contact you to ask you if you'd like to speak. And, vice versa. If you're very proactive in speaking at events, and you're considered as a go-to expert in your field, then potentially a book deal may come out of it. Publishers may be in touch to ask you if you're interested in writing a book for them. Podcasts, obviously, again, if you like speaking at events, or even if you're not a regular keynote speaker or panelist, maybe you feel more comfortable speaking on a podcast. The beauty of that is, obviously, when you're speaking, it's one-to-many as opposed to one-to-one. But, I always think it's important to do the activities that are within your comfort zone, because not everybody wants to speak on stage, but podcasts can be a little bit more, in the comfort zone for some people. Now, some people may want to start their own podcast. So again, there's many different podcasts out there. Is it too late to get started? Absolutely not, because your podcast is going to be unique. So do have a think about that if that's relevant for you. I'll skip over social media because I want to come back to that afterwards. But awards. Now, obviously, tonight we've got the EB 100 awards, so we're looking forward to that. But it's also, a great way to raise awareness of your business, and it's a wonderful pat on the back for you and your team as well if you are nominated or shortlisted for awards. And again, all of these things, there can be stories related to them that will help you, again, get that press coverage in the relevant press. So all of these are intertwined. Events, again, coming to these sorts of events or organizing your own can be a great way to, build your audience and build trust with them as well. And the social media, well, that's a great way to talk about all of these activities that you're involved in. So, hopefully you are active on social media. But that's a great way to amplify the message even more. So you're reaching out to a much wider audience. Okay. So the elements of a compelling business story that the media will want to cover, these things are really helpful to bear in mind. I'm going to run through them quickly, but, timing, relevance, uniqueness, human interest, and credibility. So the timing really is, what's going on at the time, when you're thinking about your stories, what's going on in the world that is relevant to your business, to your sector, and, is this a good time to put out that news piece? Or is there something going on in the news that you can hook your story, what you're doing, onto? But I will touch on this in more detail later. Is your story, is your article, or whatever you're putting to the press, is it relevant for their audience? And again, I'll go through that in a moment. Uniqueness, we want your stories to be unique to you, that really help you stand out. If there's a human interest, then that's even better, because even if we're talking business to business, there's still usually always a human interest in that story. So, people buy from people. We do business with people. And so it's really important to get that human aspect into the story as well, if possible. And credibility, obviously, we want the story to be credible. Okay, and so again, I'm going to run through this, but there's so many different media types that you can talk to get your stories out there. So, if it's from newspapers to trade publications, consumer magazines, business magazines, radio, TV, and again, amplifying it on social media. But the point is, what are the right stories for each of those? And sometimes one story can go to all of those. It's just we got to work on a different angle to make sure it's relevant to each one. Okay, so I'm going to take you through some examples because there's been a lot of theory so far. So, when we're looking at reaching out to the press and the media, obviously there's got to be a hook. So how do we grab their attention? Just as you're trying to grab attention of your clients or customers or investors, etc., your stakeholders, you've got to really think through the process for journalists too. They're not there to promote your business. They're not even there really to help you. They're helping you, but you've got to help them too by providing them with great newsworthy story or whatever it is that they're looking for. The more targeted you can be, the more you can shape your story that it fits and resonates with their audience, the better. The more likely you're going to have it covered. Okay, so thought leadership and expert advice articles. These are your standard articles that you'll see in most publications. Okay, so just to give you an example, so Elite Business Magazine, again, their audience, you're focused on startups to scale-ups, businesses in the UK. And so I'm sure that there's something that you can share with that magazine that would be of relevance and importance to their audience. So as I'm going through these examples, I want you to have a think about, what really could you, even today or tomorrow, think about, pitching to the editors, to the journalists, to get your stories shared. So what's your expertise, and what do people need to know? What do your ideal customers need to know that you can share some really helpful advice? So this is one of our clients, Azure. They're in the fintech business, so they're leaders in embedded finance. And so, this article was shaped accordingly for them to share their information on how embedded lending is empowering small business owners. Okay, the next thing you could do is look at opinions and comments. Now, opinion pieces, again, very similar to the expert advice, but you're sharing your opinion on, again, maybe something that's going on in your sector, or even your geographic area. Again, it doesn't always have to be sector focused, but what could you comment on? Now, sometimes the commentary, this is where the more proactive you are in doing your PR and sharing your articles, your advice, the journalist from other publications, they do take note. They read around to see who's talking about what. And so when they're writing their own articles, and this is typically, for national newspapers and the top business publications where, their staff writers are writing the articles, but they're looking for comments from experts, and generally they'll feature 2 or 3 experts per article. And so ideally you want them to know who you are so they can reach out to you to ask you for the commentary. So this is an article that I was asked to comment on for Success Magazine, which is more known in the US than the UK, but that was commenting on a CEO in America who had openly admitted to making mistakes, and I think it shocked quite a few people that he was so open and candid about his misgivings. And so I was asked to comment on, was that a good idea? What did I think, etc. Now, research and stats. Again, this is a great way to get coverage. Now, whether you're doing your own research or you're working with a marketing research company or even a university, then this is a great way to get coverage. So let me just share this one with you. When you're getting those stats, now again, that can be great research to share in your sector or share with your customers, but also it's a great way to get coverage. So if you can work that the research and the stats into an advice-led article, into a thought leadership piece, then you can get some great coverage around that too. So this was one of our clients who had done some research with which university it was. What does it say there? Oh, the University of Sheffield, sorry. And so this was all around burnout. And this one was around quiet quitters, actually, but it stemmed from burnout. And, it was a great piece that was really unique because not many people had been talking about quiet quitting at that time. This was this was probably about a year ago. So now I think we're all quite familiar with that term. And so, again, if you're really going to be a thought leader, an expert in your field, and building that trust, you've got that first mover advantage of coming up with these sorts of terms that, again, then will be associated with you. So have a think about if that's right for you. Now, I've focused on B2B, but B2C is really important too. So product placement and reviews. If you've got products in your business, then again, there's all sorts of opportunities for you to get coverage and raise awareness of your products. So, have a look at all the different publications and magazines out there, online as well as print, and see where would be right for you to pitch your products. Just bear in mind that a lot of journalists will want to receive the product. So, if you're in those startup days and products are quite expensive this one, for example, wasn't very expensive. But, if you've got a very expensive product, just bear in mind the costs associated in gifting those products to journalists. So be a bit mindful about who you're sending them out to. Okay, and just for the reason that they may not provide the coverage. It's not guaranteed. When you send a product, it's not an automatic guarantee that you will get that coverage. It really is up to them if they wish to do that or not. Okay, case studies. Case studies are like the Holy Grail. I mean, they're really amazing in the sense of you're getting a complete story of the transformation of you working with your clients. So the before, the during, and the after. Okay, so before you worked with them, what was the problem of your client? What did you do when you worked with them? What was the process that you helped them with? And what was the result afterwards? So what was the transformation? So again, not only is this a great way for your customers to share how amazing, you were, because obviously, hopefully they'll have they definitely need to have agreed to do this with you to get it into the press. You can't be talking about case studies without their permission. But the great thing is they're saying how good the transformation was, but it's also then being covered in a magazine or a newspaper, or even, be it on TV or radio. So, it does help you look very, very good, and then you can share this coverage as well on social media. So do, again, have a look and see if that's something that you could get involved in with your clients. Now, the news stories, obviously, I don't probably need to explain that one, but if you've got any news yourself in your business, that's one thing. But maybe, again, there's something going on in the national news or even in your local regional news that you can comment on. So we're basically hijacking other people's stories to comment on them as well. So this is one of our clients, Kevin Gaskell, who he was talking about the Jaguar rebrand. Now he doesn't work for Jaguar at all. He did used to be the former CEO of Porsche and BMW and Lamborghini. So there's his credibility. He's got prior experience of leading a big automotive company. So he was commenting on that rebrand. But it could also be, your local news stories. So again, this is one of our clients that is an independent school, and they have some, they regularly actually have good news stories to share with the local TV, newspapers, radio, etc. So what stories can you get out to share with your news? Launches. Now again, if you're thinking about a product launch or even a service launch, if you're starting something new, it is very hard to get journalists to come to launch events these days. They are, as everyone, busy. It is hard to get them to attend. Not impossible, but it depends what it is. But nevertheless, I think if you are going to do an actual launch event, again, make sure you're sharing news about that with the relevant press for your business. This was, again, one of our clients, Must Have Ideas. In fact, Amy was speaking earlier today, in case you caught her, the founder. So they did a launch of their own shopping channel online. And so it was broadcast live online on social media. But we wanted also to share the news of that with their sector press. So this was one in media news. So Must Have Ideas, for those of you who don't know, they're an e-retailer. And so they sell all sorts of different products that you can use in and around the house. And so they only sell online, but this was the launch of their own national TV channel, shopping channel. Okay, trends and insights. So again, coming back to, position yourself as experts in your field or experts in your industry. So trends and insights can be a great way to raise awareness of your business. And so, whether it's, this one was for a industry magazine, but again, it could be consumer press, it could be a consumer magazine, it could be with the national newspapers too. Now, insights, trends, obviously at the end of the year, there's always a roundup of what worked in, the year just gone. So if you can sort of summarize how well things went in your industry. So we're not really talking about your business, but it's talking about what went well in your industry sector or, again, geographic sector. So that's one way to look at insights. But the trends, every year in January, journalists want to know what's going to be big for the year coming. So think about that too. What's going on in your world? What do people need to know about what's coming up? So again, trends, insights, any of that sort of information you can share is very well received. And awareness days, goodness, there's an awareness day every single day of the year. There's sometimes multiple awareness days each week. So again, have a think about which ones are relevant for you and your business to hook your story to. What can you share about that day? How is it relevant for you and, again, your audience? So International Women's Day just happened last week. You probably couldn't miss it because everybody's talking about it. So again, what makes sense for you? So for one of our clients, Oxford Business College, they were celebrating an alumni and current students, the female students. So they were having a celebratory event. So that got some coverage as well. And then lastly, profile features and interviews. So again, this is a great way for individuals to raise awareness. So we're talking about personal branding. Now, I strongly believe that personal branding is really important for all entrepreneurs. So you're raising your own profile, but at the same time, it will impact on your business as well. So when we're working with clients, we love to do them hand in hand. It's super important. Now, the interviews give you a bit more space to talk about yourself, talk about the business. Now, it doesn't have to be a spotlight on your personal life at all. If you wish, okay, great. If there's a story in there that makes sense, that helps you talk about your business, great. But it's just a really nice way to give you the freedom to expand on your story a bit more. Yeah. So again, maybe in print, it could be an interview on the radio, it could be on a podcast. Again, have a think about, does that make sense for you? Would you like to do more interviews? Okay, so sorry, that last one was with Business Leader. That's again Amy from Must Have Ideas. And then we've got Alexandra Wood, who also was here earlier, who was talking to Entrepreneur magazine. So I was trying to pick out some examples of people that you may know because they're at the event. Okay, so I want to bring you back to our 3 pillars, and I want you to have a think about, visibility, credibility, and authenticity. So which ones are you going to work on which ones are most important to you that perhaps you feel you're not working on enough? Where would you need more support? So visibility, how frequently and consistently is your audience seeing your brand message, and expertise across multiple touch points? Does anyone here feel that they're not getting enough visibility or would like to raise more awareness? Yeah. Well, I'm going to put my hand up because I think we could all do with a bit more visibility. Credibility. Are you perceived as having the expertise, authority, and track record to deliver on your promise? Is that resonating with you? And authenticity. Is your business perceived as being genuine, transparent, and aligned with its stated values? Yeah, so I'll leave you to think about that. Now, as I said earlier, all of these activities, all of these efforts, you can greatly amplify them when you're sharing them on social media, okay? Now, it's not just social media, though. Have a think about, if you're getting the press coverage, can you share it on your website, on your news page? Because, again, you want people to be seeing it. Can you share it in presentations, obviously, if you're speaking, or even if it's presentations one-to-one with a client? Again, you want them to see that you're getting this coverage. Brochures or any other marketing collateral, it can be great to share in there. And if you do have a sales team, make sure that they're seeing this as well, because it can really help them when they're having their conversations with prospects. Okay, we're trying to build up the credibility, we're trying to build up that trust so that it just enables a much smoother and faster conversion with those, with your prospects. So that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Okay, well, I would love to help you. If you would like to have a chat about, what you could be doing in your business, even if it's just to share ideas on what are the possibilities, what we could look at doing to help you, or even if you've got in-house team that can help you, I'm more than happy to brainstorm ideas. So, please do get in touch if that's something that would be helpful. And if you would like a free guide on how to get famous in 15 minutes, again, I'm not talking about being on the front page of The Sun for all the wrong reasons. This is about building your brand, building awareness of your profile and your expertise. So if that would be helpful, please do either scan the QR code, or you've got a link there. It's Get Famous in 15 minutes. But it's a really 15 helpful activities that you can do, and a little checklist in there to see how you're getting on. So I hope that is helpful, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Oh, we have one.
Hi. It might be an impossible question, but I think... Am I on there? Or should I just shout? Trade press.
Yes.
So a lot of them have now gone online, or can't afford to carry proper journalists, etc., and rely on advertising. So I find it a difficult challenge to understand how important the channel it is now, because certainly most organisations I know, if people are in the office and physical magazines arrive, do they get to the right people? Are they ever looked at? And how powerful is the digital presence compared to just doing your own media and social marketing. What's your view of the power of the trade press compared to where it used to be for different verticals?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. It is a little bit different, but obviously most of them are online as well now. So they still have the print magazine, but they have their online version too. I think the fact that they're still around is proof in the pudding. You know, they are still read, and we've had a number of clients in the trade publications. You know, they are not. I like to talk about vanity PR and sanity PR. You know, vanities are your Forbes and your Sunday Times and the big headline, you know, top tier publications. But those trade press, they may not be, you know, as sexy, let's put it that way, but a lot of people are still, you know, the people in that sector are still reading them. So I would highly recommend to still try to get into them. Now, the question of are they going to ask for payment is a tricky one, because all that I've been talking about, you know, up to now is about earned editorial, is about free press. So you're not paying for none of those examples that I shared were paid for. That was all free of charge, okay? And that's what I highly recommend that you're aiming to secure. Now, when it comes to trade publications, a lot of them do ask, you know, for a certain amount of money to print that press release or article. So it's up to you then to figure out, is it worth it? And I think it's always worth trying and seeing what the outcome is. Did you see any return on that? Now, if you just rely on that one piece to get clients coming through the door, that's probably unrealistic. It's what you do with that article once it's published. You know, as I said, sharing it on social, getting it in front of your existing clients and prospects. You really do have to put the work in to make sure that message is amplified to a much wider audience. It does give you credibility, though, because, you know, you're then being seen as, like I said, going back to the power of association, it builds trust, because rightly or wrongly, we assume that if you are being published in a publication or newspaper, that you're a credible, trusted business and you've got something valid to say and people should listen or read. So it does help from that point of view. So yes, I would say it's still worth doing that. You just got to look at the results and see what comes out of it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I think maybe asking then.
Oh, could you just wait for the mic? Sorry.
Thank you. I think maybe as well asking the publication for the data, because the good thing about being online is there's loads of it.
Absolutely.
But you've got to kind of take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because of course they'll only give you good data.
Yes.
But you know, there's multiple ways of even checking that, but they'll be able to tell you how many people open it, how many people spend, how long they spend on each individual page, etc., etc., etc. So yeah. I think that's quite a good quality check to see whether it's worthwhile before you part with any money.
That's a great point, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely do your due diligence beforehand to check them out. And again, if you're already operating in that sector, you'll probably have a good feel for how many of your colleagues, peers, etc., are reading it. But the data is super helpful, yeah. That you used to get with the print magazines, but I think the digital versions, it's much, much closer to the truth probably these days, yeah. Yeah, good point. Do we have any other questions? Oh, good.
I have some online for
okay.
you. Shall we do that?
Shall we?
I've wrote them down. in case I had to run out with the mic. So the first one is, I write blogs for my website. Mm-hmm. Is it okay to send an article I've written for a blog over to a journalist so it's not unique content?
Okay, so ideally, no. If you're going to submit articles to journalists, editors, etc., then I highly recommend that it's exclusive to them, even if it's sort of repurposed from something you've already written. But ideally, it wants to be, something that is relevant and suitable for them, and is tailored accordingly. That is exclusive for them. And what I would say is, do it the other way round. So rather than trying to get blogs you've written into publications, try and get your articles submitted to publications first, and then you can share them on your website, or at least a summary of it. Ideally, what you really want to do is have a link to the article once it's been published. So don't copy and paste the whole article onto your website. Just have a little summary and then a link to the website where it has been published. Yeah.
Any more? Anyone in the room? No. There's another couple of questions that have come through that I think we've already answered, so I'm not going to ask those. Okay. And then one on here is, how does PR get me leads or convert these into sales?
Well, PR gets you leads if you're raising awareness. So the more visible you are, the more you're creating attention to yourselves, then, hopefully, if your message, if your story or the advice you've shared resonates with that audience, then they're going to get in touch to find out more. So then it's a question of how well do you convert. That's a whole sales process then, right, in terms of converting those leads into actual customers. So, yeah.
There is one that I'm going to ask, but I think you've already answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Okay. So what if I have a very small budget? What PR options would you recommend, or do you think that I have?
So, yeah, I mean, when I started my first business, I had no marketing budget whatsoever. So, again, that's the beauty of PR, is that in theory, if you're doing it yourself, then there shouldn't be any cost to it. I mean, yes, of course, there's your time, and that's the thing you have to weigh up, Is this your zone of genius? Do you like doing this sort of PR activity? Do you have time to do it? When your business scales to the point where, you really should be spending your time on the things that you're really good at, then you might want to hand that over to somebody in your team or outsource it. Okay, then there's going to be cost involved. But no, I think there's plenty you could do on the examples I've given that is not going to, you're not going to need a big budget to do that at all. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and attention. And I wish you all very well in raising awareness of your own businesses. And like I said, if there's anything I can do to answer any questions or help you along your way, please do get in touch. I'll be delighted to talk to you. Thank you for your time.